Next section, we have deep playoff run. Where would you rank, or what team would you pick first for deep playoff run?
So deep playoff run, just to clarify, is a team that we can see get into a hard fought second round, 7 games, get to a conference finals, but
Mm-hmm.
we can't see them winning the title, right?
Correct.
Looking at this, okay, I'm gonna go with the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is a team that for the past few years, I think, have been in this group where they're good enough to make the conference finals. And then ultimately, whichever team is on the other side of the bracket mops the floor with them. And they've largely stayed the same in terms of personnel. Now, a lot of this is hinging on, has Anthony Edwards added that intermediate game to his bag, and has he become practically this unstoppable scoring weapon? I wouldn't put it past him. I'll say that. I also think Julius Randle, when he came back from injury in about January or whenever it was, looked like he finally found his footing on the roster, and he's his fit in terms of being a post-up guy who can facilitate and create for others and isn't stealing possessions. I think he looked really good his second half of the season. I really like that 1-2 punch offensively. I think we saw last year Mike Conley was on his last legs last year, and now he's coming back, and I think he's still their starting point guard. That's a concern for me. He doesn't bring defensive punch. He brings defensive IQ, but doesn't bring any sort of athleticism or length to the degree where he can really make an impact on that side of the ball. And offensively, he's an intelligent player once again, but the outside shot has been inconsistent last year, and he has no inside the arc game at all that he can get to with any reliability. And Rudy Gobert, really good screener, and he can crash the offensive glass. Defensively, I also think Rudy took a step back last year, and he's been like the consistent defensive anchor. You know you're going to have a top 5 defense with Rudy Gobert. I don't know if he's that anymore. I do like Jaden McDaniels as a screen navigator and a point of attack guy. I think he stepped up again defensively last year after a down year in 24, which I really like. And he's also got intriguing offensive flashes. So I like the Timberwolves. I don't think they're a roster with a bunch of flaws. I think their biggest flaw is that I don't think they have a consistent lead initiator that I can trust to play 30 minutes a night. I would have loved for them to go get Lonzo Ball. And I also think the decline of Rudy Gobert is going to slightly lower their defensive ceiling to where before I'd have them as a penciled in top 5-ish level defense. Now I have them as a top 10-ish level defense. And then offensively, I have just enough question marks about the pieces around Ant and Julius Randle, particularly Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley, to where I think losing Nikhil is also a big deal. So I have them as a playoff team that probably will win in round 1. But getting to the conference finals, looking at teams in the West, depends on matchups, maybe. But whoever comes out the other side of the bracket, I don't see them getting to the final.
Second, basically everything you just said. But I am interested in saying how like Terrence Shannon looks for them. Another team I'm going to put here, unfortunately, are the Houston Rockets. I think the Houston Rockets definitely have the qualities to make a deep playoff run. However, the loss of Fred VanVleet, I think, is just going to bite them in the arse once the playoffs come around. Ahmed Thompson as your point guard. Now, unless, they make a move during the trade deadline, we shall see. I don't see them being able to win it all. Really good team, though, obviously. Going to be great defensively. They definitely got Kevin Durant, so that's going to be obviously a plus. You replace Jalen Green basically with Kevin Durant. The ball handling, the decision making, playmaking, and ironically enough, though, still not much downhill pressure from this group either, outside of like Sengun, maybe. But KD is not somebody that gets downhill at this point in his career. Man, you would like for him to. I think he can like transition to semi-transition, but because of the handle, I don't know how much he can in a half-court setting. And then everybody else is kind of, feeding off the creation of Amin, Sengun, and Kevin Durant. Reed Shepard is somebody that's going to be getting brought up and playing for them. We'll see how he looks as far as at the guard position. But yeah, they're going to be an elite defensive team. They're still going to be an elite rebounding team. I think they're going to also shoot the ball a little bit better than some people think. I like Jabari as a shooter. Reed Shepard can shoot the ball. Obviously, Kevin Durant can shoot the ball. You got to also remember, I'm pretty sure Dorian Finney-Smith is still on this roster. Dorian Finney-Smith in the regular season makes shots. So I think they're going to shoot the ball a little bit better than what some people think. But all in all, by the time they get to the playoffs, that lack of ball handling and table setting and decision making is going to cost them in the end in the playoffs.
I think the reason the Rockets are so hard to gauge is because they play such a different style of basketball to everyone else. And it's kind of, we haven't really seen a team dominate the offensive glass the way they're going to and the way they did last year. And then you add the half-court scoring weapon, which is Kevin Durant, who I could argue is still one of the most potent half-court scorers in the world. I do think that makes a big difference. Şengün is probably the only one who I can trust to generate rim pressure in the half court. As a driver, I really like him as a driver. Men's issues is that, quite frankly, no one guards him outside of 20 feet, so he's being gapped off of and has a weak handle. So even though he has one of the best first steps I've ever seen, he's running straight into collapsed defenses already. So it's but I think this is going to be a really good regular season team. Top 3 defense. I have them penciled in as that. In the playoffs, I can see them getting on a nice little run, getting to the second round. But the moment they run up against a team that can really shrink the floor and force turnovers, I struggle to see how they're going to get over that hump. So I do see them as a deep playoff run, but I don't see them winning a title.
Who is your next team here?
See, if I'm being honest, there's only one team I would have here, and I know you don't agree with it. So I'm gonna say the New York Knicks. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think this team has that many flaws. I think this team is a really good offense, spearheaded by Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. And I really like their defensive personnel with Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Deuce McBride, and Mitchell Robinson. The floor I can go to is their 2 best players, arguably highest minute players, but like because of like Mikal and them. But like their 2 most important players are their 2 biggest weaknesses in the playoffs, if that makes sense. Not because they play badly, but because they are what teams target. They are definitely what teams go in on their scouting report. Like, okay, put these 2 in the action, and you're gonna have them both out there for a lot of time. So the reason I don't see them winning a championship is I don't see them getting away with having to protect those 2 for 4 straight series. I think they're going to be a really good offense, and I think in the regular season, when they are able to stagger more minutes and they are able to be more flexible with lineups, they can put forth some good defensive lineups with Mitchell Robinson out there with Jalen Brunson, and then Mikal and OG, and then Cat sharing the floor with Deuce McBride and whatever. I think they can mix and match lineups to where you can make it work. But in the playoffs, when you get deeper and you have to come up against these teams that we're talking about that are left, do I see them being able to hide both of them? No. That's quite simply it. So that's why I wouldn't have them in the title contenders tier. But regular season wise, I don't see many weaknesses with this team. You sounded surprised, so I am curious to know what weaknesses you see with this team that I may be missing.
No, it's just I've never heard anybody say that about the Knicks before, so it just took me aback. So I just had to think about it. And truth be told, to be honest, it's not a bad take, because I just think maybe because as you were talking, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, maybe I am kind of low on the Knicks because they were losing to Indiana. To be fair, I think Indiana causes such a problem in the playoffs for a lot of teams because of the pace in which they play. Like, they did beat Boston. Like, that was a thing, right? So the Knicks were obviously very, very, very good even last season. And I don't believe that was a fluke. I just think maybe they could make a finals run now, because that Pacers team really just, they attack your mismatches so regularly and so consistently, and to me they do that pretty much better than any other team in the league. And that could be, a big shout out to Tyrese Halliburton, but I'm not going to give it to him. But shout out to him though. Yeah, the Knicks are really good. I'm with you on that. Where do you want to rank them as far as on this list?
I think they're the best team of those 3.
You almost sound like you want to put them in title contender, honestly.
Personally, the only 2 teams I would have in this tier. No, I would have 3 teams in this tier, but I know one of them is a team you have as a contender, so I'm not saying. But the Timberwolves and Rockets would be the 2 I would keep here, and I would have everyone else in the title contender.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah, personally, but I'm fine with the Knicks here because I can see the avenue in which, like, does it make sense if I could see the Knicks making the finals, but then losing in the finals because of the weaknesses I illustrated? But I can also see them losing in round 2 because of I just don't know if you can win 4 series hiding Brunson and Cat. That's why I would have them in deep playoff run, because it's just tough to win 4 straight hiding 2 liabilities like that.
To me, though, in theory, they were able to beat a team in which I thought that would definitely be their biggest problem in the Celtics last year.
Yeah, but that team shot 24% from 3.
That is
like, they are just like, they are the
variances.
volatility kings. Yeah, so it's like, I'm not going to discredit the Knicks for beating the Celtics, because at the end of the day, you have to beat the Celtics, and the way they closed games and came back was amazing. But everyone knew the reason the Celtics would lose would be because they would go cold at the wrong time, and quite frankly, they did. So I wouldn't say they were overcoming the fact that they had to hide Brunson and Cat. I would also say, like, if the Knicks did overcome Indiana, I think OKC would have done the same thing to him. I think out West Denver would have done the same thing to him. Even like a healthy Cavs team, I think would have done the same thing. Like, it's hard to hide 2 weak points on defense. Like, really hard, especially when it's your point guard and your center.
Mhm.
So that's where I'm struggling with the Knicks. But overall, like, they have a really complete roster.
Now, I do think I have one. I have one last team here, and that's going to
Okay.
be the Orlando Magic.
Oh, I thought you had them in title contenders. That's why I didn't say anything. Okay, cool.
No,
I
no,
agree.
no. I
Okay,
thought
I agree.
I think that oddly enough, so this is what I'm saying about Orlando. I think they can make the finals, still have no shot at winning the chip. I don't think
Oh,
they're
I
going
hear
to
you.
beat
I hear you.
anybody
Okay.
out of the West. I just think they can get out the conference. So maybe that's where you were thinking, like, yeah, you heard me say they can make the finals, and yeah, they're not going to win a championship this year. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
plan on that whatsoever. But I do think that Orlando, due to their size, obviously their two best players getting a little bit better in Franz and Paulo. I obviously like the acquisition of Desmond Bane, adds an element of shooting that they desperately need. Now, Jordan brought up something to you about them as far as their pace, and that's also something I've been echoing for a long time since they got Desmond Bane. I think they should play very fast. They're going to get a lot of stops. They're going to rebound the basketball. They have a lot of good, solid ball handlers that can make decisions in transition. They need to run because they're not a great half court set offense. So to me, rebound, play in transition, rely on all of your really good ball handlers because all of them are good and can make quality decisions. And then in the half court, you lean on Franz and Paulo. And obviously, they're going to be one of the best defensive teams in the league because they've been that for some time now. They've been pretty much you can bank on them being a top 10 defense and closer to 5 than 10 for sure. So I'm really high on Orlando. I think the East has an opening for them to make a conference appearance. However, I don't see them beating anybody who comes out the West, either whether that be OKC or Denver. So
The offense is just a big question mark for me. If they do play with pace, that can change.
mhm,
If they do shoot better than 32% from three, that could change.
mhm,
But as of right now, the way I see this roster constructed, some of the weaknesses I see with their best players, projecting marginal improvement, sure. Projecting France to become a good 3-point shooter is tough for me to do. Projecting Paolo's shot selection to be entirely cleaned up is tough for me to do. To some degree, Orlando just don't create good threes, which is why they don't shoot very well from three. So that's also a problem in my opinion. I can see them being a team that's really hard to beat in the playoffs because of their defense, but I don't see this offense beating some of the more well-rounded two-way teams. When you come up against teams that are also elite on defense, but can actually put the ball in the basket consistently, I don't see an avenue for them being able to win. So that's why I'm fine with them being in this group.
Cool. And would you say, oh, you would still have them better than, I mean, the Knicks better than them, huh?
Yeah, I have the Knicks over them, but
Last four now. It's your pick, correct? Who is your first pick for title contenders?
the least contendery.
Mm-hmm.
I think the team with the most question marks of these four is the Los Angeles Clippers.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
So I'm gonna put them here. I'm gonna start with why I think they're contenders, and then why I think they're the least contender. Why I think they're contenders, I don't think their roster has actually any flaws. I think they have playmaking. I think they have ball handlers. I think they have defense in multiple positions. I think they have size. I think they have depth. I think they have rebounding. I think they have play finishes. I think they have shooting. I think they have IQ. I think they have great coaching. I think their roster from top to bottom is one of the deepest, most well-constructed rosters on paper in the NBA. The reason why I think they're the least contendery is A, there's a major question mark in terms of injuries. Major question. Their best player is this side of Joel Embiid, the biggest injury question mark in the NBA. He's really good, but only played 37 games last year. He's healthy right now, but can we get a full regular season and a playoff run from Kawhi for the first time since, I'm gonna give him 2021 because he played the season and then got hurt in the playoffs. I'm gonna give him for the first time in 4 years. I don't know. James Harden is the pinnacle of consistency in the regular season in terms of he's gonna play. In the playoffs, you get the inconsistent games, and especially now he's more 3-point reliant than ever. Doesn't get to the rim, relies on his floater a lot more. So the inefficient scoring games are going to be there. The high turnover games are going to be there when he gets caught in a bind. Still a really good isolation scorer, still a really smart player, but the lows are still really low with James Harden. And in a playoff, in an 82 game season, you can live with the lows. In a condensed 7-game series, 2 games of really bad James Harden can be the difference between winning a series and losing a series. Can I trust this team to play through an 82 game season and then played through the intensity of a playoff run, 4 series, I don't know. Brook Lopez is someone who we just watched in Milwaukee be unplayable in a first round series against the Pacers. If we come up against a team that is spreading the floor, moving the ball really well, can Brook Lopez be playable in that series? If the answer is no, who's your backup who's your backup big to Zubac? Are you going to John Collins? Are you going to Nick Batum? I don't know what the answer is there. That's another concern. Then is, how do you get your best defenders all on the court at the same time without compromising shooting? Because if you want to have your best defense, you got to have Chris Dunn out there.
Chris
You got to
Dunn,
have Derrick Jones out
DJJ.
there. The issue is when you have both of them out there, what's the shooting like? Because you're going to have Zoo on the court. We know that. Then it's really only Kawhi and James Harden who are reliable outside shooters. So how do you manage the lineup flexibility of getting your best defenders out there without compromising spacing? So although they have great depth, great versatility, how do you get that all synergized into one lineup? That's the question I have with the Clippers. Meanwhile, I don't have those same questions with the other 3 teams. So I'd have them as my 4th biggest contender. But I can definitely see an avenue in which they win a championship.
Now, the only thing I'm going to add, because I agree with everything you said, people think does this for me come with a tad bit of Kawhi like troll? Absolutely. But I believe what I'm saying about the Clippers. Like, this is a damn good roster. Like, this is a really good team. I'm not trolling when I say that. And I think they should have championship aspirations. Now, I do.
Good
Yeah,
pun.
yeah. I think as far as a veteran laden team, I think this is the perfect display of it. Meaning, I don't really think anybody on this team, because the roster is deep, needs to play more than like 33, 34 minutes a game. Right. And then juxtapose it to like the Warrior situation, who's also a very old team. I think they don't have to rely on all of their old players as much as the Warriors. I think, like, in Al Horford situation, like when he was in Boston, where he was able to like just sit games out because Boston was good enough to win games without Al Horford. Um, they don't have that luxury in Golden State, whereas I think the Clippers do. You're right. I think there are going to be games where, like, oh yeah, Brook Lopez doesn't have to play tonight for us to win. CP3 may not have to play tonight for us to win. And like I said, they don't have to play a substantial amount of minutes because the whole roster is so good. So if you are going to have a veteran team, I think this is the best case scenario. Deep team, so nobody has heavy minutes, and then deep team again to where everybody doesn't have to play the 82 games for us to be successful in the regular season. So that was the only thing I would add to that, to the Clippers. My pick as far as the second best for this category, I would go Cleveland. Not the second best, second worst, excuse me.
Yeah.
Cleveland. For me, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I just don't. Number one, I just don't think they're as good as Denver and OKC. I still have problems with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell as a backcourt in the playoffs. I do like the addition of Alonzo Ball, however. I will say that, but DG is going to be their starting point guard, and they're going to be closing with DG and Donovan Mitchell on the court. Now, can a DG Donovan Lonzo lineup be available?
That's how they'll close games, I think.
Yeah,
That's how they'll close
they're going to close. That's going to be interesting. However, number one, my biggest factor in not having Cleveland that good, I'm no longer a believer in Jared Allen. That's actually kind of my biggest gripe about this team. Once I saw him get outplayed thoroughly by Miles Turner in the playoff setting, I'm like, I don't know if Jared Allen is going to be the guy that you need him to be in a postseason setting. And then, of course, Darius Garland, we haven't seen him live up to his regular season expectations in the playoff setting as well. Now, you can attribute that to injury. That's fair, but I also think him just the lack of size, strength, can maybe be a problem in the playoffs. So we'll see. I'm a fan of Donovan Mitchell. I don't really think that Donovan Mitchell really has any problems in the playoffs outside of the scoring blinders from time to time. I do think he can get a little bit score heavy and become basically a ball hog. And then lastly, the offensive development of Evan Mobley. I'm in on it because I did see it last year and it translated into the postseason, in my opinion. D Mitch probably should have went to him even more in the playoffs. So I am a believer in Evan Mobley and D Mitch in the playoffs. However, the rest of that starting five, question marks for me in a playoff setting. And I also don't like that they lost Ty Jerome. And again, I'm bringing him up when I was like, oh, yeah, he's not even the top 100 player, but he was really good and they lost him. So, yeah. And the health of Lonzo, obviously, is another concern. All righty. Down to the last two teams. Now one of them has the best player in the world, the best team he's ever had, and then we have the
Yep.
reigning defending champions.
Oh, okay.
However, obviously, I'm going to go with Denver here. Denver is going to be my second best team in the league. Pretty self-explanatory. They have Nikola Jokic. That's number one, two, and three for them. And I'm legit like not like Nikola Jokic is that good. Obviously, Jamal Murray looks very good in the preseason. They still have Aaron Gordon, who is also looking amazing. And if Aaron Gordon can get a little bit back to being the defender he was and the vertical threat mixed with the shooting, that's one of the best like role players in the league today. And just for modern basketball, a four who can shoot but also handle physicality on the inside defensively while still guard some wings on the perimeter and hit a three and finish a lob in the dunker spot. Like that is such a quality role player. Yeah, and now he's even like scoring in isolation in the mid range in post ups. Like Aaron Gordon is really good to me. The for me, when your best player is a center, you want one of two things, or really just the best player on your team. You want their backup to do one of two things: either bring an aspect of the game that they don't. Right. So I've always thought that the Denver's backup center should probably be a defensive oriented player. So to me, I always thought like, man, if they could get like a Robert Williams on their team when Jokic goes out and now they kind of shift or tilt the balance in the other direction when Jokic is off the court, or you get a backup who obviously isn't as good, but you can assimilate a lot of what you do with your best player with them. And that's what they now have with Valanciunas, right? They're still going to be able to do the dribble handoff actions. He can pass out of the high post or, just at the top of the key. And so with that, they're going to be able to continue to play the same brand of basketball. Yeah, great screener as well. So they're going to be able to play the same brand of basketball when Nikola Jokic is off the court. And I think that's going to definitely benefit them because that is kind of what they've been struggling with the most throughout the years, right? Great when Nikola Jokic is on the court, fall off a cliff when he's not. I think Valanciunas can help balance that out. The year to beat OKC to me was last year, and they didn't get beat. So they're all gonna like just that's really it. They're all gonna get better. Just you would hope so. They're a young team, young players. J Dub gets a little bit better offensively. Chet gets a little bit better offensively. They have SGA who is Mars said it, but he's he is truly one of the best scorers ever. The way he's able to get the shot that he wants over and over and over and over again is very impressive off the dribble, right? And then he one of the best drivers in the league, one of the best finishers in the league, combining that with one being one of the best mid-range shooters we've ever seen. And if he takes even a smidget of a leap as far as his passing and playmaking, we are now talking about, at least in my opinion, now we are talking about arguably the best player in the world. If Shea can be better as a passer, because that to me was his real hiccup in the playoffs. Not well, he did drop off as a scorer, but he just had some very bad reading defenses games, in my opinion. And if he improves upon that, now we're looking at a complete player because he can defend as well. Very great defender off the ball. So OKC, um, best defense ever, arguably. Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Chet, Ihart, J Dub, Case and Wallace, all of them are still there. I anticipate them winning 65 plus games easily. I expect Shea to win the MVP. And if they so happen to have a good playoff shooting run, this can be one of the most dominant playoff runs we've ever seen in NBA history. I truly believe that. I just do not think that there's any team in the league currently that can give you four good offensive games against this team in a 2 week setting. So that's just where I'm at with it.
Yeah, not to alarm anyone, but Shea missed 4 shots in preseason.
Yeah.
And it's not like he was just, oh, he was 4 for 8, he barely played. He was 20 of 24.
Right.
Yeah, that man could score the ball. Nah, I don't know what to tell you. That man could score the hell out of the ball. So starting with Shea, obviously, as he is the head of the snake. I think away from the scoring, and we all know how special that is, his ability to draw fouls, make mid-range shots at an elite clip. One of the best drivers, if not the best driver in the sport, especially from the perimeter. Elite handle, great elusiveness, good first step, but elite deceleration and change of pace and balance and all of that good stuff. The fact that he controls the possession game on a team like OKC that forces the most turnovers in the NBA, a guy like Shea who can have the ball in his hands as much as he does and turn it over as little as he does,
Mm-hmm.
while also being the defensive playmaker that he is like game breaking in the sense that you're getting maybe 2-3 turnovers a game from Shea. Meanwhile, your team is forcing 14. Like, you're just winning games off that alone. Then you get one of the most efficient volume scorers you've ever
That's why
seen.
his net rating is the way it is.
Exactly. And one of the most consistent scorers you've ever seen. I think he scored less than 20 once last year, or maybe twice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that level of consistency on a game-to-game basis. Not to mention, the biggest reason why you can get the Shea plus a bunch of defensive lineups is because he's able to floor raise an offense by himself.
Mm-hmm.
You can put him out there with Ludor, Caruso, Chet, and Ihart and say, we don't need to worry about the offense. And these guys are just going to have the best defense and we're going to have a 120 offensive rating because we have this uber efficient scorer. And then you have the flexibility to go in the non-Shea minutes, which aren't as dominant, but then you go J-Dub, Chet, Kaysen, Caruso, wherever you want to go. And it's like, we got defense at every position. We're going to force turnovers and run in transition. The half court can be shaky, but J-Dub can hold us, keep us afloat. And then we're still going to run you off the court anyway. It's a team that doesn't really have many flaws. The biggest flaw is obviously the outside shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that in this past postseason when they shot like 33% from 3. They still ultimately won, but they got pushed to 7 a couple times. Many will argue that if Denver was healthy, they could have beat them. But if this OKC team can knock down the 3 with consistency, it's really tough to beat them 4 times in 7 games. And also, I agree with not the tunnel vision, but the Shea playmaking point, because I had many issues, especially in the finals, with Shea's playmaking. But one thing I will say about Shea is once he sees a defense 2 or 3 times,
He adapts.
he figures it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start seeing the playmaking really show. Like even in game 7 last year, I think he had 12 assists.
Mm-hmm.
Against Denver, once he started figuring out that zone, you started seeing him really get comfortable. That's the thing. The longer a series goes against OKC, the more Shea starts to adjust, and that becomes a problem.
And shout out to everybody in chat, in the playback. If you're not a member of the room, make sure you become a member of the room. Hit that notification bell so you know when we're live. And also, again, over there on the YouTube, make sure that you like the stream, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, it's been real.